Hello and welcome to the final aspect in my 6 aspects of empathy, and it's something that I call perceptive engagement. All of the other aspects, the first 5, those names come from the research. This one I made up myself because of the articulation and the nuance there is in empathic engagement with others. In the research, the final empathic action tends to be called consolation, which is like, patting people down and taking care of them, or targeted helping, which is helping in a way that is very specific to the needs of the other, right? But as I said in the 4th aspect video about perspective taking, sometimes the most important and most empathic thing that you can do is nothing, right? If people don't want help, it's nothing. Just walk away clean and know that if the person needs you, they will ask, right? And so the words targeted helping would mean that you would need to see an action. Or the word consolation, which would mean you would need to see an action. And in the research, of course, that makes sense. Because when you're doing research, you need to sort of like write down what people did. And if they do nothing, you're like, null set. I don't understand how to do this. So my term, perceptive engagement, means that you're knowing what to do and you engage at whatever level is appropriate, including not engaging at all. Right? For instance, if someone is clearly about to cry, and I don't know if you've had this, but when I'm holding things together and I don't want to cry in public, because you can lose face, right? You can lose face with pretty much any emotion that you have in public. But crying can be pretty dangerous, especially for a woman, right? Who tend to be treated as kind of weak and passive, and they never met me. But let's say you're holding it together and you don't want to cry in public, and someone comes to you very kindly and says, "You're doing so well," or something just really loving, and boom, the tears come out, and you're like, I'm trying to pull them back in. If you're doing perceptive engagement, you would leave that person alone and give them their sense of privacy, so that they could manage this emotion that needs to come out but not here, right? Perceptive engagement is understanding enough about the emotional world to make clear and intelligent and relationship and person and situation specific decisions about what to do. There's a wonderful piece of research that wasn't about empathy. It was about, when do children realize that other people are other people and that they have other desires that may have nothing to do with you? When do children realize that? This research was done by Betty Rapaccioli and Alison Gopnik at UC Berkeley. And it was so ingenious. It's famous. It's called the broccoli and goldfish experiment. And what they did was they put babies between 1 and 2 years to see, how early does this happen? And they put a bowl of raw broccoli, which most of the babies did not see as food, right? And then they put a bowl of goldfish crackers, which many babies think of as the best thing in the universe, bar none, right? So there's more to this study, but the researcher mimed, because many of these were pre-verbal kids, she mimed, just like a love, just a wonderful love for the broccoli. Broccoli, broccoli, just over the top. And then mimed toward the goldfish crackers, which the babies liked. Goldfish, just horrible goldfish cracker. And then pull the emotion out, right? Just put a flat sort of affect on, flat emotion. And then put out their hand and said, may I have some? Not looking at either bowl. And what they noticed is that at a certain age, some babies went, I don't even know what you're doing. They didn't do anything. They didn't engage at all. Some babies put the goldfish on the person's hand because obviously goldfish is food and I don't know what that is. And what was interesting to me is that wasn't perceptive engagement, because the person didn't want a goldfish, right? But the baby wanted a goldfish. So the baby wasn't taking perspective properly. The baby was taking his or her own perspective. And what was interesting to me is that giving the goldfish, which the baby loved, was generous, but it wasn't empathic. And then at a certain age, babies were able to take the raw broccoli, however horrifying it was for them, and to give it to the researcher, like, okay, these are your needs. I don't agree with them, but you go with it, right? And that age, again, is the same age that German researcher Doris Bischoff-Kohler found in her famous teddy bear and spoon exercise. That age was 18 months, right? So our capacity for perceptive engagement predates, strong verbal skills. It is something we know how to do, and it shows in child development, it shows a kind of a switch between only understanding yourself and your needs and finally understanding the desires and the needs of others and being able to meet those needs, right? It's relational. Whereas before that time, babies are pretty self-centered because that's what they need to be. It's not a problem. And again, if you've got a baby in your life who's 18 months and they're still handing everybody goldfish, it's not a problem. There's a range like anything. Some kids walk early, some kids walk late, some kids talk early, late, there's a range, right? So don't feel like your child is failing, okay? But what this research did, and they weren't looking for empathy, they were looking for something called desire recognition. It showed that very young babies have a fully realized empathy in this 6 aspects of empathy model. It's a function of child development, right? So I don't want you to think that it's hard to do perceptive engagement. You've been doing it since you were a baby, most likely. All it means is having your ducks in a row in terms of emotion contagion, empathic accuracy, emotion regulation, perspective taking, and concern for others. And boom, perspective engagement. It happens right there. It happens a lot of people think of empathy as like this really obvious thing where you're like, oh, I see how that would feel for you. Or some function of listening or some function of training. But I use this example a lot. We are empathic with each other in every moment of every day. When we like something on Facebook, when we share things, when we're driving. You couldn't make your way down a road without strong empathy skills, strong perspective taking, strong empathic accuracy, and strong perceptive engagement. For instance, let's say you're at a 4-way stop sign, there's no light. And the rule here in the United States is the person on the right goes first. So if there's any problems, it's the person on the right who goes first. So everybody arrives at the exact same time. There is no person on the right. And so without words, maybe people's radios are playing so they can't hear each other. Without words, everyone looks at the other person to see who's going, right? They are empathically checking in with each other, and they are deciding who's going to be given, what is our perceptive engagement here? And if you've ever been in a situation like that, and there's 4 of you looking, and there's one person who refuses to look, you all 3 look and go, here's this guy, or female, here's this lady again. And you know that by refusing to look, that person is going to take it. They're going to go. So the 3 of you sit and commiserate in your car, okay? Totally empathic engagement, total Einfühlung with each other, right? That's empathy. It's that simple. You don't have to, dress it up or do a lot of techniques around it. Empathy is our engagement with the world. It is our engagement with ideas. It is our capacity to understand and communicate and engage non-verbally, as the children did when they gave the silly researcher that strange green raw thing that she seemed so interested in. Empathy is not difficult at all, right? You do it all the time. Even if people have called you unempathic, if you walk down the street and you don't smash into every person you meet, you're an empath, right? Everybody's an empath. There is no such thing as an unempathic person. Well, a dead person is probably unempathic because it can't do much. Animals are empathic. Oh my word, dogs, horses, many of the corvids, which are magpies and blackbirds, ravens. Cats are wonderfully empathic. They just they have their own gig, right? So So the idea that empathy is this technique that you have to develop throughout your life, I think, yeah, you can use techniques to get into empathy, but it's not necessary. You're already empathic. You're already engaging in perceptive engagement every single day of your life. So if you're having difficulties with people or showing your empathy for a certain thing, understand you are already an empath. You are already an empathy professional, right? So come at it from a sense that this is a human skill that's developed before you can even speak, that you've been doing it your whole life. And if there's any difficulties in empathy, use the 6 aspects model, find out where it is, and you can fix it. The good news is that no matter how old you are or what your situation was, you can develop empathic skills in each of the 6 aspects of empathy. You can do this, right? It's your capacity to engage, and you have that already. No matter how you came to it, you have it, right? And no matter how difficult it is to be empathic with this or that person or this or that idea, you have empathy skills in other areas that you can bring into this troubling one. Perceptive engagement is something you do all the time. And in the 6 aspects of empathy model, it's sort of the, like, it is the thing that happens when all the lower, the first 5 aspects have been sort of managed well. But it's not rocket science. It is your birthright. And you're already doing it. You have Einfühlung somewhere. You have in-feeling. You have feeling into. You have capacity there. Empathy is awesome and brilliant and wonderful, and can also be very problematic if you don't have sort of a handle on each of the steps that helps you build perceptive engagement. But I believe in you. I believe in all of us. Thank you for being present for this series on the 6 essential aspects of empathy. Now go out and play. See ya.